obvious thing to have a look at, and this is what the media always bangs on about, is light bulbs. Because we know that most light bulbs, I have a very bright light shining on me right now, if I went and touched that light bulb, it would burn me. Because 95% of a normal light bulb's energy is actually translated into heat, and only 5% into light. So we came up with these compact fluorescent lights, the CFLs, and they only use 25% of the energy of a normal light, and give out not quite the same brightness as a normal light, but not bad. And then in the last few years, we've learned how to make white LEDs. Up until 2005, LEDs only came in a very kind of prostitute pimp blue and purple color, which wasn't so cool for the living room, or even less the company reception area. But now we've been able to create white LEDs. And the latest Audis and BMWs have that little LED strip in their lights. It's a little bit sort of sexy use at the moment, but they can now be used as proper lights. You know that LEDs use 0.1% of the energy of a normal light bulb. 0.1%. So next time you're thinking of upgrading the kitchen, the bedroom, and you want to put lights in, it might cost you a little bit more to put LEDs in, but the savings in electricity will be huge over the next few years. And that really is what we're looking for. There's all sorts of things you can do. You can put a wind turbine and solar panels up on your roofs. You can put geothermal drains under your house. I mean, you can go crazy. If you have $1 million to spend, I can come and show you how to spend it. But of course, the key thing is not to get sucked in by the sexiness of the technology, but to ask yourself, do I get a return on investment? In most of these, the clever people who are working in the green industry are bringing that return on investment down, down, down. Solar panels used to take about 15 years. The cost of putting them in versus the cost of the electricity, you saved 15 years till you get your savings back. That's not acceptable. It's not to a company or to individuals. But these days, that's coming down, down. We try and work and help companies to see a return on investment within 1 year. Now that's completely acceptable. It's within one budgeting cycle. We want to spend some money, but by the end of the year we would have made that money back. It's a zero-sum game within one budgeting cycle. And it is possible. You need to just look for that. You need to look for the business case for doing this, is I suppose what I'm trying to say, not get caught up in the sexiness of it. The final step then is to report on what you've done. There are some legal reports that are going to be increasingly required. In South Africa right now, they are all voluntary, but they are very much expected. But if you're reporting internationally, you know about triple bottom line reporting. Reporting on not only your profit, but also your impact on people and your impact on the planet. That's the easiest way to remember, the 3 Ps. Your profit, the people, and the planet. And we need to report on these. This is now part of the King 3 reports and so on, that every company and every public institution must do this. It's more than just the reporting, though. It's also public relations and marketing, and using this to say to people, I know we're a big corporate, I know we do what we do for a living, but here is what we have done. And that's the key with that assessment, is to say to people, look, we started off by measuring, we then empowered our people to change their behavior, upgraded our facilities, and here's the result. An independent audit and assessment to show the improvement that we've made. How good would that be in terms of responding to public pressure and dealing with public issues? As a family, if we're dealing with the individual side, you need to sit down with the family and say, hey, look, 3 months ago we tried this, and here's the results. And hey, if it helps to incentivize your kids, give them some of the cash that you saved. Surprising how good that works. That also, I think, works for adults as well, doesn't it? Just give us some cash, and then we'll do what you want us to do. Or not, okay. Maybe you guys are different, I'm sure. What we're wanting to try and do is to build some momentum. Start with something that's small. Start with something that can fit in your budget, that you don't need to go through a whole internal tendering process. Do something in your team, in your department, on the floor of your building that you have control over. See what happens. Then you generate some savings. Wow, let's try something bigger. Now we've actually got the money to try something bigger because we've got a few months or a few years of savings. and so that momentum builds. So there's examples around energy use, but this could be, as I said, for any of those issues. Dealing with global poverty or malnutrition, dealing with water supply. Anything that falls under this category of sustainable business can be dealt with. Measure it first. You want to go and do a job creation scheme in a community. Measure, starting point, get a milestone in place. Then empower the community for behavior change. Build in a system, an upgrade, an adaptation of an existing unit. Leave a bit of infrastructure there. Make sure there are real benefits. Report on it, celebrate it, assess it, and you finish the process. It's not rocket science, but I think it's something that you can use in your team meetings to talk about. What are we going to do? 4 steps, and build that momentum for change. Makes sense? Seeing a few notes? It's not rocket science. It should be something that we are all capable of doing. I'm hoping you leave here saying, I can do something. This is not a huge issue, the polar bears are drowning, what can I do about that? There is something you can do. Measure, empower, upgrade, and report.